must come to the nearest public health facility to get their child immunized. Polio has no cure. Protect your child by ensuring they are vaccinated now and every time there is a campaign. Polio and other vaccines have been tested, are safe and effective. Vaccinate and protect your child now.
This is NTV.
Well, it's 9 p.m. and you're right in time for our broadcast tonight. It's also Tuesday and Sidebar is coming up straight after the news because right here on NTV, news and facts come first. On NTV tonight, Joseph Hellon, a close friend and ally to former TV presenter Esther Arunga, now a murder suspect in Australia, is live with us. The hashtag for tonight is NTV Tonight. We shall have all the stories making headlines both nationally and internationally for you. But first, let's begin with the highlights.
Tonight, government takes action. 20 supermarkets raided.
In the 3 samples that we obtained, there were traces of sodium metabisulfite.
Ministry of Health says preservative not permitted in meat. Plus, the mission was to keep President Kenyatta in power. British Member of Parliament admits she worked for controversial firm Cambridge Analytica to help Jubilee win in 2017. And Aror Kimored Dam scam investigations head to Dubai. DPP and DCI's latest search for answers. Also tonight, Esther Arunga's intrigues then and now.
Arunga didn't go or didn't come to my son to make a happy home.
Joseph Hellon spills the beans.
Esther liked anyone who was rich, and somewhat she was attracted to the bad boy.
NTV Tonight with Ken Mijungu.
A very, very good evening and welcome to our broadcast. And David Agondoa is our sign language interpreter tonight. And of course, Zainab Ismail is on special assignment out of town. So I'm doing this alone. And tonight, and in an apparent rejoinder to NTV's revelation about the use of toxic chemicals to prolong the life of meat sold in retail stores, the Ministry of Health now says the use of sodium metabisulfite is not permitted in meat or in meat products, including poultry and game meat. The ministry's pronouncement comes even as public health workers raided at least 20 supermarkets in Nairobi and its environs and collected meat samples for testing. NTV's Seth Olale has that update.
In the 3 samples that we obtained, there were traces of sodium metabisulfite.
Following startling revelations of how butchers use toxic preservatives in meat and meat products in order to make them appear fresh for long and thereby preventing losses, the Ministry of Health in reaction now says the chemical sodium metabisulfite, whose street name is Dawa ya Nyama, should not be used as a preservative in meat and meat products, including poultry and game meat. Health Cabinet Secretary Cecily Kariuki, in a statement, says sulfites are only permitted for use as additives under specified food categories. Earlier on Tuesday, public health officers from the Health Ministry, working undercover, collected meat samples from 20 supermarkets in Nairobi and its environs. The samples will be analysed at the National Public Health Laboratories and results released on Thursday. This is not the first time the government is conducting such an exercise. In 2016, due to public outcry, the Ministry of Health carried out tests on samples of meat suspected to have contained higher contents of formalin preservative. However, the results were negative. All county public health departments have also been directed by the ministry to heighten surveillance in all supermarkets, butcheries, meat processors and other food business operators. Retailers Naivas Supermarket has also come out to clear the air over the use of chemicals in meat to give it a longer life.
It has to have the 100% halal, because you're actually 100% halal, and it has to be it has not more than 5 degrees. In fact, if you get it at 5.2, 5.1, we can't get that consignment.
The Consumer Federation of Kenya wants, among others, the formation of an interministerial task force bringing together the ministries of Interior, Health, Agriculture and Trade in order to review existing policies and formulate administrative and legislative regulations that will manage meat production and processing in the country. The Law Society of Kenya is calling for a probe on all supermarkets and butcheries selling laced meat with chemicals.
The first question we need to ask is this meat slaughtered in a slaughter facility? Is it inspected? How was it slaughtered? Is it transported well from the slaughterhouse or the abattoir to the outlet? Because all those affect the quality and the shelf life of meat.
We have since established that there aren't enough veterinary public health workers. There are currently about 2,500 slaughter facilities in the country, being supervised by only 500 vet officers. Seth Olale, NTV.
Now, away from that, debate on how the national cake will be shared out between the counties and the national government this financial year is set to begin afresh following the publication of an amended version of the Division of Revenue Bill. Now, the National Assembly is sticking to the 316 billion shilling figure at which it drew the line in the mediation process, but up from the 310 billion shillings figure contained in the original bill. But even as the National Assembly hits the reset button, Majority Leader Aden Duale has turned the heat on the Commission on Revenue Allocation, accusing the body of setting unrealistic expectations. NTV's Olive Barrows reports that the Council of Governors has now rejected Parliament's figure and insists on the 335 billion shilling as proposed by the Commission on Revenue Allocation.
They marched in the streets holding hands, resolute in their unity of purpose to have the Supreme Court spell out the roles of the various organs in the sharing out of revenue between the national and county governments. Today, the Majority Leader in the National Assembly, Aden Duale, effectively described their move as melodramatic and ill-advised, perhaps making the case for the governors in stating, and I quote, "This is not the first time the Division of Revenue Bill has failed and we've had to begin afresh the process," end of quote. Duale points out that the same happened in 2015 and 2017. Consequently, the National Assembly's Budget and Appropriations Committee has published an amended Division of Revenue Bill for the year 2019, pegging the county government's share of the revenue at 316.5 billion, up from the 310 billion contained in the original bill, but not any much closer to the 327 billion demanded for the counties by the Senate. The Commission on Revenue Allocation recommended 335 billion. Duale says it created unrealistic expectations. As he put it, the Commission is largely to blame for the current stalemate because the Commission has been making recommendations based on non-realizable revenues and wearing the hat of the National Assembly and Senate by actually sitting on the division table and negotiating. CRA is standing by its recommendations and advises the parties against grandstanding to the disadvantage of the ordinary citizen.
When you look at the 335 against a forecast of 1.87 trillion, it means that it translates into just 17 shillings and 90 cents for every 100 shillings So the counties are getting 17 shillings, 9 cents for every 100 shillings. Okay. And of course, when you delay, what it does is that we'll blame the counties for not spending, because if you release late, then they'll not have time to spend.
But even as the National Assembly hits the reset button, the recriminations abound. Duale asking where all the monies shared out to the counties over the years has gone, and with the governors asking the National Assembly why they claim that there is no money to share out, and yet they push for more allowances. Olive Barrows, NTV.
And of course, that's one of the discussions we're having tonight on Sidebar. So stay here, and when we come on Sidebar, we're going to delve on those matters, because we have a legislator in the House, we have a lawyer, and we have an observer who's going to try to put that into perspective. Let's move on. And NTV has learned that Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has issued deportation orders targeting a section of directors of betting companies whose licenses have been revoked. Whereas it's not yet clear how many persons have been affected. The list of directors affected by the issued deportation orders include persons from Bulgaria, Holland, Russia, Italy, as well as the state. And the state now looks to purge the betting industry of what it terms as rogue operators. Now, this comes just a day after the Central Bank of Kenya issued a circular to commercial banks, mortgage financiers, and microfinance lenders, notifying them of the revocation of licenses by the Betting Control and Licensing Board. The move by the Central Bank further tightens the noose on the ability of unlicensed players to operate, coming on the back of the suspensions of their pay bill numbers by telecommunication firm Safaricom. And away from that, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nordin Haji, and DCI Director George Kinoti are in Dubai in a bid to tighten investigations into the Aurora and Kimo-Red Dam scandal. The probe has been going on for months, but there have been no arrests so far. The DPP and DCI Director have had to travel to Italy and Dubai to seek areas of mutual cooperation, and that could help tie up the loose ends. NTV's Mel Miendo with the details.
For months now, Kenyans have been waiting for the conclusion of the Aurora and Kimo-Red Dam scam. The scandal, termed as complex by investigators and prosecutors, involves a number of foreign jurisdictions, hence the longer it has taken for any arrest or prosecution of suspects, including top government officials said to be involved in the scam. And this is what informs the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nordin Haji, and DCI Director George Kinoti's mission abroad. They are accompanied by officials from the Auditor General's office, whose latest report shows that 4 billion was paid for the construction of the dams, but there was nothing to show for it on the ground. The team spent the last few days in Italy and are now in Dubai for a series of meetings with authorities. They will be seeking mutual agreements on how the probe can move forward. Sources say the team had obtained hard evidence on how part of the 65 billion that was paid out by the National Treasury had been wired to private accounts. Just a week ago, the DPP, DCI Director and EACC CEO Twalib Mbarak met Italian Ambassador to Kenya, Alberto Pieria, and discussed collaboration on capacity building, mutual legal assistance and investigating corruption. This was followed up by the Italy trip, where the team held more meetings in an effort to convince the Italian government to take action against firms involved in the scandal. They also met with officials of Italian firm CMC di Ravenna that received 450 million shillings in its London, Dubai and Nairobi bank accounts. Investigators who visited the bank in Nairobi, where the money was wired, termed the evidence as crucial. Haji and Kinoti's team is also reported to have met officials from the Italian government-owned insurer, which was reportedly paid 11.1 billion shillings by Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich as insurance premium for the 65 billion shilling loan to build the two dams.
The probe files at the DPP's office have been moving to and fro, with various recommendations to charge at least 22 individuals. In recent months, a number of cabinet secretaries, including Henry Rotich and Mwangi Kiunjuri, and some principal secretaries, have been questioned by investigators over the scandal. And now,
high expectations await of the actions Haji and Kinoti will take on their return back to the country in the course of this week. Mel Miendo, NTV.
Away from that, in an admission that resurrects debate on the controversial role of data firm Cambridge Analytica in the 2017 general election, UK Brexit Party member of the European Parliament, Alexandra Phillips, has now admitted to have worked for the disgraced political data firm as part of a secret team that was deployed to help President Uhuru Kenyatta retain power during the 2017 general election campaign. Now, Phillips confessed she worked as a speechwriter with President Kenyatta's team after previously and fiercely denying the claims. Vincent Odur with that report.
After initially strenuously denying any involvement with the disgraced data firm Cambridge Analytica, Brexit Party member of the European Parliament Alexandra Phillips now admits she secretly worked for Cambridge Analytica on its controversial 2017 election campaign in Kenya. Phillips confessed to UK's Channel 4 that she was hired by Cambridge Analytica as part of a secret team mandated to ensure President Uhuru Kenyatta retained power during the 2017 presidential elections. She says she worked as a freelance contractor, focusing on speech writing with President Kenyatta's team. Alexandra Phillips confesses that the work was so secret to the point of being told to always say she was an air hostess. This latest confession has put President Kenyatta and Jubilee Party on the spot once again, despite their continued denial of ever working with political data firm Cambridge Analytica. Last year, Cambridge Analytica was exposed by an undercover Channel 4 investigation in which the company's bosses were filmed boasting of dirty tricks and influencing elections across the world. Kenya's 2017 election campaign was marred by misinformation and fake news spread through the internet and smartphones, targeting opposition leader Raila Odinga. Odinga was smeared with a series of viral videos, including one that notoriously depicted apocalyptic scenes if he were to win the election. Phillips says in a recording that President Kenyatta's Jubilee Party paid Cambridge Analytica about $6 million, an equivalent of 600 million shillings for the job. Her association with President Kenyatta's campaign was first questioned in 2017 when Twitter users raised eyebrows about a picture she shared on her social media pages wearing a Jubilee campaign cape. Her confession now only comes after Channel 4 News obtained a recording of an interview from 2017 in which she confirmed she had been employed by Cambridge Analytica to work for President Kenyatta. Vincent Odur, NTV.
And for a comprehensive look and details of that admission, please make sure you get your copy of the Daily Nation tomorrow, because they're covering that admission end to end. So grab your copy of the Daily Nation. Let's move on to a story you have been looking forward to. And she was the poster girl of success and ambition at the beginning of what promised to be an enviable career in broadcast journalism. Now she's facing up to a quarter century in an Australian prison for her complicity in the murder of her child by her husband. How did Esther Arunga take a turn to destruction? NTV's Brenda Wanga reports on the fairy tale turned tragic.
Esther's predicament in Australia as she awaits her sentencing in the case of the death of her son Sinclair is tied literally to the man who swept her off her feet in a whirlwind affair that has now turned tragic.
The chairman, who is also my dear loving husband.
Esther and Quincy's paths crossed at the home of the founder of the Finger of God Ministries, Hellon Joseph, in 2010. Hellon says the romance blossomed quickly.
So we had a bigger problem, getting ourselves out of incarceration and paying bails and getting lawyers to argue our cases and all that. So I decided to focus mostly on the legal matters. And as soon as we were done with the legal matters, I decided to investigate Quincy myself. And I found out that he was a con man. His career was to con people. He was an expert in cracking into people's websites. in simple terms, a cyber criminal.
According to Hellon, who was living with Esther at the time, Quincy had presented himself as a wealthy, ambitious and reformed ritualist seeking God. Esther bought the lie.
Quincy came with promises of big money, big media positions in those countries he purported to have had contacts with. And of course, he also came with some dollars, so he looked like a rich guy. And Esther liked anyone who was rich, and somewhat she was attracted to the bad boy.
Esther's parents were equally opposed to her relationship with Quincy Timberlake, also known as Quincy Wambita. The two relocated to Australia, claiming they were fleeing political persecution on account of their decision to contest for the presidency on the Placenta Party. In addition to their firstborn child, Sinclair, they had a little girl. But it was their handling of what Quincy termed as the demons inside the 3-year-old boy that has landed the couple in trouble in Australia. Sinclair was 3 years old when Quincy fatally injured him as he fought the said demons. Esther admits to lying to the authorities to protect Quincy. But the family of the man she lied to protect, Esther remains an unwanted person. His mother blames her for the situation that has since befallen her son and her family.
Arunga didn't go or didn't come to my son to make a happy home. She came because of wealth, and now wealth maybe she's not seeing that the wealth is now coming the way she thought.
Quincy has since been admitted to a psychiatric institution in Australia. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Well, everyone who has watched Esther Arunga's story cannot help but sympathize with her and what's going on. And now Jazz Maestro Joseph Hellon joins me in studio for obvious reasons. And Joseph, you are one of the great friends of Esther. At the peak of her career, you were friends with Esther. And obviously, anyone who's watched that story is now thinking you have turned against your friend, Quincy, who is in trouble. That's what we are all thinking. Have you turned against, because the words you have used, conman, cyber criminal, they portray a very negative Quincy. Previously, that's not what you thought of Quincy.
First and foremost, I'm a man of God, so I accept everybody. That's what we preach about, transformation, reformation. Okay. So anyone who comes to me with the aim of transforming and becoming a great person is welcome.
Okay.
But if they prove otherwise, and maybe prove that they have other ulterior motives, then we have to call that out. Okay. So yes, Quincy was and is a conman and is a cyber criminal.
Is he your friend? Is he your childhood friend?
We
Quincy?
Went to the same school.
Okay.
We were desk mates in primary school.
Okay.
So yes, we were friends when we were children. We were neighboring each other up country where I grew up.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons I thought, okay, this is a wonderful reunion. And when he said that he knew Esther from before, and Esther was staying in my house then as my cousin, I thought, why not? We're good people. We're kind people.
Were you the matchmaker?
No, we don't matchmake. As a preacher, the Bible says you marry a person of your own choice, not the preacher's choice.
Okay. Yes. But the fact that he met Quincy in your church, in your house, and that's the time she left the other relationship, he said that you are the spiritual father. You said you're a Christian. As a spiritual father, Esther at one point admitted that following an advice from the spiritual father, he had to ditch the other person and picked Quincy. So it's
all right.
On your advice.
There were lots of spiritual fathers during that time. There was a purported
in your church?
Benny Hinn, not in the church.
Okay.
There was a purported person called Benny Hinn. We later discovered after investigations that there was a syndicate in Hellon where these guys were pretending to be different people from different parts of the world, and Quincy, in collaboration with them, worked to convince people that these spiritual people were giving information. So at no given time did I ever matchmake Esther and Quincy, and at no given time did I ever support that relationship. But I respected Esther as an adult, a 30-year-old, making her own choices.
But you see, you accompanied Esther and Quincy wherever they went, including an interview in 2014, I think, right here at NTV. Right. You accompanied them.
Yes.
And you supported their love affair at that time.
Listen, when a human being who is 30 years old tells you have chosen this person to marry, you cannot then go against them. Let me tell you where people go wrong, especially parents. If a girl says they love somebody, and you then tell them, no, we don't like the person you love, you cement the people together. If you give them the freedom to see for themselves the kind of person they're relating to, ultimately their eyes open. So there was a big mistake when they began to fight Quincy, and for that reason Esther thought, this is my savior and everyone else is against me.
Okay. Is it so convenient for you right now, in the absence of Esther and Quincy, to deny them?
It's not convenient. It's actually a very sad state of affairs. Because I gave Quincy advice and I gave Esther advice. They didn't take my advice. In fact, in 2010, when
what
I
was the
asked them
advice you gave them?
I told Esther, this is a bad guy. In
Really?
fact, we had a meeting, my wife, myself,
Okay.
Quincy, and Esther, 2010, December, in my house in Kitisuru, and I confronted Quincy with my evidence, including some of the motherboards he used to remove. After conning people on the internet, he would remove the motherboard so that the CIDs cannot access the information and all that. I confronted him with all that, including the syndicate he was running in Hellon. And the guy started shaking. He even cried. But then that's the day Esther turned against me. Esther said, oh, so you've joined my parents. You know how she used to talk?
Yeah.
Hellon, I thought you are my friend. You have now turned against me. From that time onward, she blocked me. She completely disconnected herself from me. But you know what? I asked both of them to leave my house.
Okay. Was Quincy manipulative?
Quincy was not only manipulative, but used witchcraft, black magic.
But how do you know about using use
I'm
of
a
witchcraft?
spiritual person. I'm a preacher. The,
Okay.
the Bible is awash with cases where people went to see witches.
All right.
Saul of Tarsus went to see the witch of Endor, who actually predicted the exact same thing that happened to Saul. So witchcraft is real and it works. And Quincy told me before he joined the church that he used to practice witchcraft. He wanted to reform.
Did you tell Esther all these things?
I told Esther all these things.
Really?
Yes, I did.
And she never believed you?
Esther was a stubborn person. If she took a certain angle in a particular matter, it became very difficult to turn her around.
Okay. How far did you go to help Esther?
Listen, this woman lived in my house all this time. So we had dinner together, you know, we went to church together, we did so many things together, even those media interviews you're talking about, we did them together and we discussed these things over and over again. My wife spoke to her very many times, she never listened. But okay. Listen, we had to stick together as a team because we had legal cases to deal with. You don't want a bunch of divided people going, you know, for court hearings and all that. That just pricks holes into everything. Okay. So we needed to get legal matters out of the way first, and then deal with all these extra matters later, and that's exactly what I did. Okay,
the parents will tend to differ, but I would ask you this. Do you think that Esther Arunga was brainwashed by Quincy?
Yes, she was.
And what did you do about it? Because we understand the time the parents really wanted to help her, but the mother thinks that it's actually Esther who went for Quincy.
Listen, before all this thing blew out into the media and everything, my wife and I, plus Esther's elder brother and his wife, plus Esther's mother, came to our house and we spoke to them. And we advised Esther, the best thing to do right now is just go back home to your mother.
Okay.
And my wife told Esther's mother, don't fight this woman. If you fight her and her relationship, you will be causing her to cement her relationship with Quincy. That's what my wife told her. She said, I'm talking as a woman. If I'm in love with somebody and you fight that person, I will be more attached to that person, thinking you're my enemy.
Okay.
So Esther actually went with the mother, okay. But then the next day she returned saying, I'm a 30-year-old, okay. I live in a free country,
okay.
I can make my own decisions.
Whose idea was it to form a political party, the Finger of God?
Okay, the Finger of God was a church.
Was
not,
a church,
not a political party.
What is the party?
Quincy came up with the idea of Placenta Party.
Oh, Placenta
and
Party.
wanted to be the chairman of the party. Mm-hmm. He found Esther and I already working on our political ambitions. I wanted to be president and Esther wanted to be my running mate. By the way, I still have those ambitions. I will be president of this country, by the way. Okay. I've not quit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just on the drawing board. So when Quincy came and found we were in the church, he joined the church to get Esther. When he found that we're in politics, he joined the politics to get Esther. So everything he did was to endear himself to this hapless woman.
Okay.
Yes.
And indeed she managed. But I'll throw it back to you, because how did you convince a media personality with such promising career to join you in politics?
Listen, politics was not going to remove Esther from her media career. Mark you, when Esther was high and flying, she lived in my house. I used to be the one mentoring her.
But she lived in your house when she left the prospective husband?
No.
Okay.
She lived in my house way before. Esther joined me in 2008. Okay. Yeah, Quincy came in 2010. Those are 2 years. She joined our church in 2008. We started doing business together, including our political ambitions and all those other things together. And Quincy came In 2010, Esther moved into my house in 2009. So she was with me for 1 whole year. When she was high-flying and everybody was appreciating her, I gave her the advice, helped us with accent and how to pronounce words correctly and how to dress the right way. I helped her even with weight loss. Those days, they wanted all these skinny news anchors, you know. So Quincy came way after we had all these wonderful plans.
All right.
Yes.
I'd like to ask you this. I know you mentioned your cousin, that Esther was your cousin, but more of what we get outside here is perhaps you were in love with Esther before that.
Everybody loves their relatives. You are my relative, and there's nothing wrong with loving you.
Okay. Finally, for you, before you leave her predicament where she is right now, she's facing likely 25 years in an Australian prison. What do you think about it?
It's just unfortunate that she made those choices. She was advised. In fact, later in 2010, December, I met the mother and we talked. We talked for quite a while. She was given advice by different types of people. I was advised too, and I remember my first interview to say I was disconnecting from Quincy was on Nation TV. And I even apologized to people who might have got hurt and stuff like that. So she never listened. As a result, choices have consequences. I've dealt with my matter. I live a happy life with my wife, my children. We are doing good business, and one day we'll run this country.
Great. Thanks.
Most welcome.
Very much.
Nice talking to you.
It's nice talking to you too. That's Joseph Hellon speaking to us. He was a great friend to Esther. And as I said at the beginning, everyone sympathizes with what happened to Esther. Time now for a short break on NTV Tonight. We'll be right back because we still have a lot for you. Stay with us.
Hey, mister. Where you going?
Men clean their cars themselves. I'll also clean my own bike. I'm grown up now.
Then you'll need this.
The most pleasant surprise for a mother is to see her child growing up.
But I know as he learns to take more responsibility, he'll face more dirt, germs, and the risk of illness.
That's why you need strong Dettol protection, because Dettol cleans and protects against 100 illness-causing germs.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
Nation FM. More music and less talk. Nairobi 96.3, Mombasa 101.5, Meru 93.9, Nyeri 104.9, Eldoret 102.7, and Nakuru on 97.7. Follow us on social media on Facebook at Nation FM, Instagram at Nation FM, and on Twitter at Nation FM KE. Nation FM. More music and less talk.
Tumekimbia hadi huku juu tumesikia kwa followers wengi. Utasema twende tu wewe.
Ati nasikia baba amekulike.
Wewe unajua governor. Tupatie namba.
Tunajuana na Chachi.
Si hata nyinyi Obama anaweza walai. 2022 sisimami. Wacha chocho. Mzai, pia wewe unaweza ongea na governor. Chachi ile yako hapa hata nyinyi mnaweza mulai. Facebook Katoko ni free na Safaricom. Una dial *544*33# na unaingia. Fantastic. Enjoy Facebook Katoko for free on Kenya's best 4G network. 33#. Governor.
Sensitivity is a short, sharp pain that people experience when they have something hot or cold getting to the nerve of the tooth, causing that discomfort. If the sensitivity is left alone, it may get worse. Dentists recommend Sensodyne to their patients. It's able to get inside the tooth and calm the nerve of the tooth down, and the proof's in the results. It works.
Melissa?
Mom, it's Dad's birthday today. I'm giving him a party just like he gives me.
Nothing makes a mother more proud than seeing her child growing up. But I know that as she learns to care for others, she'll face even more germs and the risk of illnesses.
That's why you need strong Dettol protection. Just 1 cup of Dettol protects your home and family from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
Kenya's marketplace for the auto industry is back with the 22nd Auto Expo Africa. Meet exhibitors from over 30 countries. Source all your automotive requirements at the 22nd Auto Expo Africa 2019 from the 18th to the 20th of July at KICC in Nairobi.
John suffers from indigestion. His twin James suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around or both. That's why they use Gaviscon Double Action. It soothes within 3 minutes and lasts up to 4 hours. For double relief from heartburn and indigestion, Gaviscon Double Action. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Are you too serious?
We're just friends.
Just friends. Okay, that's great.
You like golfing?
Yes.
Yeah? How about we go to Fun Putt tomorrow to celebrate my new job?
Yeah.
Yeah!
It's all my fault. You died because of me, and now Mom and Dad are separating because of me.
You have to hold on.
Hold on to what?
Hope.
When it comes to pimple care, Acne's Creamy Wash contains multiple vitamins and removes excessive oil and dirt. Use Mentholatum Acne's for clear and smooth skin every day.
And welcome back. Our sign language interpreter tonight is David Agundoa. Police in Nambale, that's in Busia County, have arrested a man who bit off his wife's lower lip and left here following a domestic quarrel. 51-year-old Pascal Nyabola was apprehended for assaulting the 39-year-old Jacqueline Kerubo, a mother of 6, on Sunday. Now, Nyabola went into hiding immediately after that incident. His wife, who was horrifically disfigured, was taken into protective custody. Nambale Sub-Chief Police Commander Robert Ndambiri said the suspect was arrested at St. Mary's, Busia, while harvesting sugarcane with others. He will be arraigned before a Busia court tomorrow.
Kulingana vile tumemhoji, walikuwa napigania mambo ya kinyumbani, kutoaminika katika ndoa. So katika hiyo harakati ya kupigana, bwana anasema mama alimshika sehemu nyeti. Baada ya kumshika sehemu nyeti, naye mzee akajiokoa kwa kumuuma mdomo wake wa chini. Alimuuma mdomo wa chini, akatema chini, alafu akamuuma pia sikio kidogo. Pia naye akatema chini.
Very sad, but at least the lady will get justice done. Residents of Pangani Estate spent the night in the cold after they were forcefully evicted by Nairobi County government to make way for the construction of new housing units in line with the country's and the government's affordable housing project. The residents have protested the forceful eviction, saying they were ready to vacate the houses by the deadline day at the end of the month. NTV's Hellon reports on the long-standing tussle between the tenants and the county government, which says the matter has been politicized.
48 families who had made homes in Pangani Estate, now a pile of rubble, have to look elsewhere for shelter. It was a scramble to salvage whatever they could as the bulldozers, under the cover of the early morning darkness, started pulling their houses apart. The tenants have been embroiled in a tussle with the county government over plans to remodel.
The government can accept this kind of thing to happen to its citizens. And we can't really put ourselves together and say we are part of this nation.
Mbona walichukua pesa yangu ya rent ya mwezi huu? Sina arrears yote.
Pangani is among 7 Nairobi estates earmarked for redevelopment. The groundbreaking for the planned upgrade is scheduled for August. In May, the county government handed out checks of about 600,000 shillings to facilitate the relocation of families, some of whom have lived there since establishment in the 1960s. Some of the tenants, however, vowed to stay put.
The
48 tenants have already been considered in our new contract. We are going to give them first priority to occupy the new houses. Those are landlords in waiting. I don't know why they're politicizing this issue.
The houses are expected to be finished in 2 years. The cost of the houses is expected to be 3 million shillings, payable within 30 years. Hellon Aura, NTV.
Right, a lot of response in following that interview with Joseph Hellon. I can see them online. We'll try and read some of them at the end of the broadcast, but time again for another break. When we come back, Julian Samboko will be right here with all the stories from the business sector. Stay with us.
Why are you filming, Mummy?
To help people stop getting sick. People think the weather makes them sick. Actually, it's the germs. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs, including the cold and flu virus.
Rama Homes Limited brings you Rama Towers launch event with a 3 million discount on all purchases. This will be happening at Crown Plaza from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the 20th of July 2019. Rama Towers is a mixed-use development located in Wood Avenue, Kilimani, comprising of 4-bedroom luxurious apartments with a 6-year payment plan, 0% interest, and office units retailing at 12,000 shillings per square meter with a 12-year payment plan, 0% interest. For more information, call us on 0709 658 000.
Why are so many children absent? Children have become weaker. Children have not become weaker. Infection-causing germs have become stronger, making infections more severe. New Lifebuoy with Active Natural protects from today's stronger germs.
You in the pollution? Yes, you. Dry throat? Strepsils. Gal in the smoke with a raspy voice? Strepsils. Hello, in the downpour with a scratchy throat? Take Strepsils. Get soothing relief for any throat irritation. Strepsils with its medicinal ingredients will heal the harm down to your throat from external factors. Strepsils. Strepsils for a dry, itchy, raspy, scratchy throat.
Making my family some nutritious porridge is a painstaking process. First, I have to find all the ingredients needed, and there are many. For vitamins, proteins, and minerals, I need cassava, sorghum, millet. You no longer need to go through all that to make nutritious porridge. All you need is NutriPro.
You don't have to go through the trouble of finding, measuring, and weighing all these vital ingredients. New NutriPro porridge flour comes fortified with 13 vitamins, proteins, and minerals. This means that you have more time to focus on what's important, giving your family the healthy start they deserve. NutriPro, bringing families together. From Tropical Brand.
Join Telkom today and share life on our expanded 4G network. Telkom, moving with you.
Hey, mister. Where you going?
Men clean their cars themselves. I'll also clean my own bike. I'm grown up now.
Then you'll need this.
The most pleasant surprise for a mother is to see her child growing up.
But I know as he learns to take more responsibility, he'll face more dirt, germs, and the risk of illness.
That's why you need strong Dettol protection. Because Dettol cleans and protects against 100 illness-causing germs.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
Let's get down to business. Welcome, I am Julian Amboko. Now, sugar imports in the month of June went up by 52% compared to a corresponding period last year to supplement the persistent shortage in the country. With the continued low production in many sugar factories and closure of several state-owned mills, it seems like the country's reliance on imported sugar will continue to persist. Lillian Carrier with the details.
The latest data from the Sugar Directorate indicates that the volume shipped into the country in June stood at 28,229 tons compared to 18,548 tons which were imported in the same period last year. This was an increase of 52%, which has been attributed to the decline of table sugar imports last year due to huge stocks of cheap duty-free sugar. On the other hand, total production of sugar last month was 244,808 metric tons compared to 259,737 metric tons, which was achieved in the same period last year. This signified a drop of 6%, buoyed by a fall in production in most of the sugar factories. The impact of the continued closure of Mumias, Kwale and Chemilil sugar factories is still being felt as the local production volumes decreased, affecting local sugar availability. Nzoia and Muhoroni sugar factories recorded minimal operations after only operating for 8 days during the month, while Kibo's Sugar Company remained closed during the entire month for annual maintenance.
The prices of sugar on the shelves continue to fluctuate. While in the month of April, a kilogram was retailing at a monthly average of 108 shillings, the same was going for 116 shillings last month. Lillian Kiarie, NTV.
And elsewhere now, Kenya will not intervene to restrict the influx of milk, eggs or any agricultural product from Uganda or any other East African country, despite calls by poultry farmers and some legislators in the country to have the imports banned. Livestock Principal Secretary Harry Kimutai says the imports will keep coming because the East African Community Common Market Protocol allows free movement of goods and services within the region. Victor Kiprop with that story.
At the center of the influx of livestock products, including eggs and milk from neighboring countries in recent years, is the high cost of production in the country, one the government says is in the process of addressing.
The cost of production in Uganda is lower than ours. So once we work on it and we get that right, then I so believe that our system of production will be correct and therefore our cost of production will come down. We also need to focus on the bigger picture, which is now the African Free Trade Area. If we are afraid of Uganda, what about now the Africa itself?
Annually, Kenya produces 5.3 billion liters of milk, 800,000 tons of meat, and 1.5 billion pieces of eggs. But availability of cheaper imports has led to the flooding of the local market. This inability to meet its livestock products demand could be magnified even more, as the country's population is expected to double within the next 3 decades, while productivity faces new challenges including antimicrobial resistance, depletion of natural resources, and climate change.
The glaring reality of climate change and the population growth in Kenya's arid and semi-arid land calls for more deliberate actions in increasing resilience to provide sustainable livelihoods in our ASO areas.
According to the Africa Sustainable Livestock 2050 report that was released today by the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO, annual consumption of beef in Kenya is expected to grow by 230% to 1.6 million tons. Poultry meat will be up 240% to 92,000 tons, while milk production jumps by 140% to 11.3 million liters. Victor Kiprop, NTV Business.
From sugar to milk, and now let's talk about maize. Now, the county of Trans Nzoia has moved to reassure its residents that there is enough maize to sustain them amid claims of shortage in the country. The county commissioner says the county has a total of 300,000 bags of maize in storage at the NCPB, which would last the county another 2 months. Meanwhile, members of the Agriculture Committee in the County Assembly have vowed to block any attempts to import maize, saying that their intelligence has gathered that farmers, millers and traders are hoarding in excess of 1.5 million bags of the precious grain.
So we just want to call upon the CS, Ministry of Agriculture, to drop the push to have importation of maize into the country, because the worst times are over. Usually the cycle where we have the gap in demand is April, May, June and July. And now we are towards the end of July.
As we see on 28th of May 2019, a ship is loaded or was loaded in the port of Mexico with an empty BL, meaning it's just hovering in the deep seas, awaiting to offload any port that will allow.
Tunaomba ili wakulima wetu waweze kuuza mahindi yao kwa cereals board ili iweze kusaidia kwa mambo ya chakula, food security.
Nakuru's Saga area is keen on cleaning up its accident black spot tag and become the industrial hub of the county, with cheap land and infinite supply of clean energy being the selling points to lure investors to the county. Bridget Ngana with the details.
For years now, Joseph Ugola has worked extensively at construction sites in Saga, having left Western Kenya in search for opportunities in Nakuru County.
Hii ni kibarua yangu ambayo huwa nafanya, mimi huwa napata kazi. Kwa hivyo mimi naweza sema kwamba kazi kwa vijana ipo kama unajua chenye unaweza fanya.
Ogola is just one among many Kenyans anticipating to reap big from the employment boom the new industries setting up shop in Salga would bring.
Salga ilikuwa associated na prostitution, of which vile hizi kampuni zimejengwa, unapata most of the time guys are coming kufanya kazi, unaona, hata kama ni watu wa mkono wanakuja kufanya. Yani hizi kampuni zimefanya au watu wache kukua idlers. Hata most of the time we do have also ladies who are coming to do this hard job.
To date, a milk processing plant, cement factory and a steel mill are some of the major industries already running or at the final stages of construction, signs that Salga's fortunes are turning for the better. The Industrial Revolution in Salga hopes to make Kenya a hub of production to break the reliance on imports.
And Royal Steel Industries will employ at least around 500 workers directly. Right now, even we are importing so much goods from outside, and if there's opportunities always there for local industries. I still believe that we have a lot of room for the locals to come up and put up industries in Kenya. We have to be self-sufficient. That is the only way of our economic growth I can see.
Proximity to the Great North Road that connects Kenya to the rest of East and Central Africa and affordable land costs are some of the reasons Nakuru is positioning herself as the driver of the Big Four agenda on manufacturing. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru.
Finally, some pleasant news from Salga, and that wraps up the business news tonight. Up next is the financial report.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
Who wants to answer? Mary?
Mary has a toothache.
Oh, I see. And who knows why?
Because her tooth is too big.
No, it might be a hole in her tooth called a cavity. That's why I brush twice a day using Colgate.
Imagine this is your tooth and these are food acids that cause cavities. Colgate with calcium and fluoride helps prevent cavities
For maximum cavity protection.
and now available in a 12-gram sachet for fresh bread. Only 15 shillings.
Why are you filming, Mummy?
To help people stop getting sick. People think the weather makes them sick. Actually, it's the germs. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs, including the cold and flu virus.
Children bring joy to our lives, but they grow up so fast. Soon, it's time for college, and by that time, college fees can be a huge expense. For as little as 3,500 Kenya shillings, Educare combines life insurance with savings for college. Download SE mobile app, open an account and start saving now. Be life ready.
Selena!
Toto, where's mommy?
Today's a toilet day.
What? Oh.
Selena!
Toilet day?
Tomorrow we're hosting a party and it's a matter of my reputation.
It's a toilet, not a white shirt. Even if you spend your entire day cleaning with bleach and detergent, it still won't be party ready.
Impossible.
Challenge. Harpic 10X.
Even if you use bleach and detergent 10 times, they won't give you the same sparkling clean toilet that Harpic 10X will give you.
Wow! Harpic 10X. Harpic, Kenya's #1 toilet cleaner.
Right, welcome back to NTV Tonight. And before we do some sports, let's take a look at some stories also from the Corridor of Justice. And 8 students from St. George's Secondary School, that's in Machakos, accused of setting their school dormitory on fire 2 weeks ago, were today charged before Machakos Court with arson and malicious damage to property. 2 students sustained 60% burns in the July 5th incident. 7 of the suspects were released on a 20,000 shilling cash bail. The other suspects were released on a free bond. In another case, 4 Kangoli Secondary School students were also today arraigned in court in Machakos for attempting to set their school dormitory and latrine on fire. They were released on a 100,000 shilling bond each. And elsewhere, police in Kandara, that's in Murang'a County, arrested 3 people, 2 men and a woman, who were found with fake currency notes in 2 separate incidents. In one of the incidents, suspect Stephen Murigi was found in possession of 892,000 shillings in fake currency. He was charged with fraud and released on a 1 million shilling bond and a surety of a similar amount. Elsewhere in Kiburugi, Murang'a County, 2 suspects, a man and a woman, were arrested while making rounds in Kandara, conning mobile money transfer agents with fake new generation currency amounting to 17,000 shillings. Joyce Mudhoni and Rafael Njoroge, 2 denied the charges and were released on a cash bail of 15,000 shillings. And finally, from the Corridor of Justice, the hearing of lawyer Willie Kimani's murder case has been adjourned after lawyer Cliff Ombeta, who is representing 3 of the 4 accused persons, failed to appear in court. In another twist, the 5th accused person, a police informer who recorded a confession detailing how lawyer Willie Kimani was murdered, fired his lawyer in court. Peter Ngugi told the court he needed a new lawyer because he did not have faith in the current one. Lawyer Nelias Kinyori was a pro bono lawyer paid by the state, but Ngugi now says he wants a female lawyer. All right, another time for break, but when we come back, Sean Cardovelis will be in studio with all the sports. Stay with us.
Germs with Jick. Kills 99.9% of germs on your kitchen surfaces, sponges, chopping boards, sink and fridge, and your bathroom taps, shower head, basin and surfaces. Just Jick it. Look out for our new improved packaging in store. Just Jick it.
Are you too serious? We're just friends. Just friends. Okay, that's great.
You like golfing?
Yes.
Yeah? How about we go to Fun Putt tomorrow to celebrate my new job?
Yeah.
It's all my fault. You died because of me, and now Mom and Dad are separating because of me.
You have to hold on.
Hold on to what?
Hope.
When it comes to pimple care, Acne's Creamy Wash contains multiple vitamins and removes excessive oil and dirt. Use Mentholatum Acne's for clear and smooth skin every day.
A very good evening to you. I'm Sean Carter-Villis with the latest sports news. Now, Athletics Kenya has issued guidelines as to how the national championships that will double up as the national trials for the IAAF World Championships will be done. Now, Kenya under the spotlight due to the doping menace. Anti-doping measures are on the forefront for the trials that will be held in August at the Now National Stadium. Aside from the AK affiliates, athletes from Kenya Wildlife Services, National Youth Service and the refugee team will be guests.
We will not allow individual athletes to come on their own. They must be entered by a region. There are two qualifications. First, you must have gone through the anti-doping tests. And secondly, you must qualify by time standards. The testing requirement. According to IAAF anti-doping rules 15.5.1c, no athlete will participate as part of the national team of Category A National Federation in the IAAF World Championships unless in the 10 months prior to the competition, he or she has undergone at least 3 no notice out of competition tests for urine and blood, at least 1 athlete biological passport test, and an EPO test. And all such tests are to be conducted not less than 3 weeks apart.
The national women's volleyball team is back in the country, with both players and officials happy with their endeavours in the Women's African Nations Volleyball Championships, that despite their second place finish. Marquez strikers fell to Cameroon in a thrilling 5-set final that saw the West Africans retain their title by winning 25-17, 25-27, 25-23, 23-25 and 16-14. The Kenya volleyball queens were seeking a record-extending 10th continental crown, but were undone by poor reception that Cameroon capitalized on to win. Senegal won bronze as they overcame the hosts 3-1. The win by Cameroon and the third place finish by Senegal signals a continental rise in West African volleyball. Tyler Okari, who's a national men's basketball team player, has been feted as the Sports Journalists Association of Kenya's Star Time Sports Personality of the month of June. Okari was instrumental as the Kenya Morans made history by winning the Africa Zone 5 title. His exploits saw him voted the competition's most valuable player as Kenya qualified for next month's Africa Games, which is set to be held in Morocco. The shooting guard, who plays professionally in Denmark, will be hoping to extend his good form to the FIBA Afro-Basket Championship that starts this weekend in Bamako, Mali. Meanwhile, the Kenya Morans and the national women's team, the Gazelles, who finished second in the Zone 5, today paid a courtesy call to the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga.
Planning like 2 years ago, like we wanted to start something. And when we came together this summer, we worked out for like 3 weeks. And when we went to Uganda, we were ready. We knew we were ready. We went there, played against tough teams, and thank God we emerged as winners.
Citizen TV news journalist Waihiga Mwaura appeared before a Nairobi court to testify over the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Olympics debacle. Waihiga took to the witness box for over 4 hours. The former Sports Cabinet Secretary Hassan Wario, his Principal Secretary Richard Ekai, and ex-NOC official Stephen Soy are among the sports officials who are charged with abuse of office and misappropriation of 55 million shillings, and that was during the 2016 Olympics held in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil.
About the, so how did she get there?
Defending champions Azam and Ugandan side Kampala City Capital Authority are through to the semi-finals of the Sekafa Kagame Cup with similar 2-1 wins over DRC giants TP Mazembe and Rayon Sports. In tomorrow's quarterfinals, Kenyan representatives Gor Mahia play Green Eagles of Zambia, while
All right, time for Sidebar. We're coming up to discuss what matters to you because members of parliament are at it again now. This time round, they're talking about scrapping the women representative seat. Now, that's not all. The governors are not happy, and they're not happy because of what's happening between the National Treasury and the National Assembly again with the denial of monies that are supposed to go to the county. So this is our focus tonight. So we'll touch on that, and already have my guest here, Steve Ogola, who's a lawyer, David Uchieng, who is a member of parliament and a lawyer, and of course, she's here, Daisy, always a pleasure. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break.